Welcome back once more. Yes, I'm wearing a tinfoil hat. Excellent observation. Oh, I don't care if I get hypnotized or anything by alien forces. Not at all. Oh, well, look at me. I thought it was a fashion choice in the ufology community. Yes, I assure you that's a real word, and it's spelled like that. Never mind all that, though. I promised a little while ago that this podcast would talk about aliens finally, and I'm going to be doing it today. I know, I keep putting it off. Well, none of the aliens are furry, nor are they hotter than any cryptids, and I have a very fickle, very narrow attention span. But I finally found a story about UFOs that kept my interest. Partially because of the potential for a water dragon, but still. Please, sit. Have a tinfoil hat, grab some magical sunglasses, and get a single glass of water, and that's it if you're not feeling safe. We're finally going to be telling an alien story. I know there's like a praying mantis one, and then the little green goblin men, but none of them are furry or hot.
Welcome to the foxhole at Foxxo Esoterica. I promise I was sober when I wrote this.
Welcome back to Foxxo Esoterica, a podcast that puts the piracy in conspiracy. I both believe in aliens now and also routinely shoplift from large supermarkets still. I'm your true believer, Forseti Fox. And this month, for the full moon episode of May, we're going to be covering Lake Baikal in Russia and the many, many mysteries surrounding it. I'd like you all to give a warm welcome for our returning guests, Rebecca Lister and Brandon Wright, my close friends and ex-roommates and slow-turning rivals. I have no other housekeeping today, so let's just get right to it. I'm having fun. Okay, I'm muting myself.
I'm gonna stop you right there, Aaron.
Okay, we're doing it in person this time. So this is welcome back to Foxxo Esoterica, everybody. Last time we had these guests, I used the app that didn't make the audio files work. So now that we're all vaccinated, I'm in Chicago and I'm in person with returning guests, Brandon Wright.
Hi.
And Rebecca Lister.
Hey.
Hi.
I feel like we had nicknames last time that we came up with.
Do you want some?
Well...
It's too late.
There's this little thing called Ed and Eddie. Editing.
Editing?
How about... So, my nickname is...
Epic Chungus.
And then in post, you can put it right there in the gap. I guess I could have said this in the gap.
Yeah. Did you come up with an idea? Because it kind of feels like you didn't.
I already came up with one in the past, I felt like. So that one, I'm sure is a pure representation of me.
Okay. Brandon, do you want one?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
What's your nickname again?
It's,
Epic Chungus.
And then
yeah.
You can... Okay, thank you.
And I won't do this editing bit to disparage Rebecca in the future.
No.
It's not going to go poorly for her.
Cool nickname, though, right? I came up with it all by myself.
What nickname? You didn't say anything.
Yeah. She just said...
Big Chungus.
I was having fun with the, echo earlier.
Mic check.
So this is... Okay. Fun behind the scenes. So I did an episode last month, because I did what day is it? It's May. So for April, I front-loaded all of my recordings at the beginning of the month. So here we are with this month, very far away into the future. So we haven't done this in a sec, but here we are back with Foxxo Esoterica. I don't know what this is trying to illuminate. I don't think I have an anecdote here. I think I just wanted to be like, I haven't done a podcast in a while, because the way I'm recording is weird, but dab. No, but you're just both staring at me.
I just haven't seen you dab in maybe
Yeah,
ever.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's allowed, but tell us this,
Oh yeah, so y'all remember the podcast.
Yeah. Do you need an anecdote? Is that... Because we can come up with We can give you an anecdote.
One in post. Oh yeah, the anecdote is
Epic Chungus.
isn't it enlightening?
That was such a good anecdote. Brayden, you have one. You want to talk about the podcast you recorded last Tuesday on whales and
Yeah. It's called Whale, and it's really just about talking about whales and their relationship to the community.
Which one?
Oh, the disenfranchised one. So you just pick one and
Wink,
think,
wink, wink,
yeah,
nudge,
whale.
nudge, yeah.
Yeah, so you just pick one and you just think about whales and their relationship to that community, and
You have a new one every month.
yeah, right, and it gets really intense. People start to cry a lot, but you don't want to blubber.
Blubber.
Yeah,
I don't even know her.
I don't even know her.
A ghost story.
So yeah, for those who don't know and are jumping in, it's time to tell a ghost story. I have to do housekeeping, but do I need to plug in my computer? I do.
I need to hit record.
Oh, it's dying. Just say something funny.
Yeah.
So, the thing about the whale podcast is that I think about big gargantuan mommy milker whales, huge whales, and it's just about these whales expressing themselves and, becoming one with nature. Is water nature?
Like the...
Does that count as nature?
Yeah, like the
Wait,
salt
water?
and fresh
Yeah,
kind.
like water.
Not the like chlorine and...
I thought it was like sea nature or something.
Water?
You're thinking about...
Sea nature.
Wait, did you say water?
Yeah.
I don't even know her.
What are you doing here, Aaron?
So let's do the housekeeping. I don't think I'm gonna do anything this month in terms of like...
I'm not releasing this.
This is a private episode. No, there's nothing new. It's just we're here because this is a routine. I'm living my truth, having a vibe. Oh yeah, I think if you're listening to this, then the next episode will be the one where I did the ghost hunt. Did I see a ghost? Didn't I? Probably not. Spoilers. But yeah, we're here for just a full moon episode, which means story time with this paranormal aspect. It's going to be great. For this full moon episode, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. We're going to get back to Brandon and Rebecca. But you've been guests on the show before. But you were guests before I started asking people 4 questions to get their background in the paranormal community.
Okay.
So you ready to answer some questions first before we start?
Yeah, why not?
Cool. Do you believe in ghosts, aliens, or anything else considered unexplained and paranormal?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I had to pick one, for some reason, it would be ghosts. Feels like the one that makes the most sense to exist. But there could be others, too.
Okay. I like it. It's rare that I got some BBs on the... Actually, I think a lot of people have been believers. But, it's good. Second question, do you have any experiences with any of these things? And if so, would you like to share a brief story if you'd like to?
One of my old houses was haunted. We'd hear like noises and stuff and people laughing and stuff through the hallways. One time my sister received like a call on the phone from our mom, and she had like a whole conversation with her, but my mom sounded just like dazed and confused. And like my mom got home and she had like left her phone home the whole time. So we were like, how did you call us? So yeah, that it was weird. It was a weird house.
That's like weird. That's like fully horrifying.
Oh yeah. My little sister would like talk to walls and stuff. It was crazy. It was like, look at because my little sister, she was like 4 or 5 at the time or something like that, and she would just like look at the walls or talk to things that weren't there, and like we never really talked about it, but it's weird. It was a weird experience. Didn't really think it was haunted though. I just thought it was just my family being weird, but could be haunted.
I think that's haunted as fuck.
Yeah,
it's just so haunted.
I've heard that about kids too. Like one of our friends is a nanny and talks about when she'll pick the kid up, sometimes the kid will like wave down the empty hallway, like with full recognition of seeing something in her face. And I was like, oh my god. But yeah, I think there's more of a like connection with young children, which is interesting.
I think that's a lot of stories have that sort of thing. Like, I guess a lot. I haven't covered one specifically. I guess I did Haunted Toys R Us, and that's kind of kid adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, a lot of times I think that there's a pattern there where younger people will see ghosts more than older people, I guess.
Yeah.
Who knows why?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a story at all?
There was that rock you brought back from the ghost town, if you haven't talked about that on the podcast already.
I don't think I did, but whether or not we actually saw a ghost in our in-person Hell's Bridge investigation that me and my siblings went on 3 weeks ago, did we see a ghost? Did we not? I'm going to end up talking about some more paranormal stuff because we might not have, and it would be a boring episode if I didn't, hypothetically, see a ghost, hypothetically.
Should we talk about the Santa Claus painting? Or is that...
That one? Yeah, that one too, I guess.
Yeah, so we had a couple of, like, objects that felt energetic when we were all living together. We all lived together in college and might have talked about that already.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Probably. Well, we did. And... Mostly, so Aaron went to a ghost town, brought back like a stone that looked like it had come off of a building, like it had the building number on it, but only half of it.
70.
Yes. And I liked her energy and often was like, hey, can you help me park? And then I'd always find a spot when I asked out loud in my car, which might not have been related, but I like to think that she was watched out.
I like it.
So that was a good one. That was and then I was very upset
in
when...
the woods.
But she wanted to go back to the woods, right?
I think
so. You got that vibe.
Yeah.
And then the Santa painting, was just chaotic. Like, from when it came into the house, it was like cabinets closing and it...
Oh, yeah. Like
glass falling on me.
Mostly targeted at Brandon.
Mostly targeted at Brandon and Will a little bit, but Will would just deny it.
Yeah.
Will just didn't like it the most.
Will didn't like the whole concept.
Yeah. We won't tell you where we got the Santa painting from for legal reasons, because it may or may
But just know.
Anyway.
But yeah. I forgot about that.
The next question, and this one's a little bit more personal, so answer it with your own... Oh my god, do you have any of those stories you want to talk about?
So
totally interruptive am I?
I don't think so. I always felt like we should have had a ghost. Because I grew up in like an old house, and I was always like, we should have a ghost here. But I don't think we actually had any experiences. And then there was the whole, like, my middle school was haunted, but I feel like everyone's middle school was haunted. And then we were, like, in the wind tunnel. There was a wind tunnel in our middle school. I'm not 100% sure what that means to this day. But apparently there was a ghost in there. And some of the kids were like, we saw that. But they were also, like, 12 and liars. So
or young and more prone to seeing the ghosts.
Yeah, but I feel like their first reaction wouldn't have been, just saw the ghost. Everyone who wants to hear me talk about it now for a really long time.
Good point.
So yeah, I'm not really sure. That's it was mostly once you brought the Ouija board into our lives and the ghosts concept into our lives that they started appearing. So
well.
You could be one.
Am I a ghost? We may or may not have brought the Ouija board to Hell's Bridge.
Ooh.
Did we see a ghost? Did we not? Stay tuned.
This time we definitely did. I wasn't there, but the rest of the episode, that's the plot.
Rebecca and Brayden are around. You know that I'm haunting the building.
Yeah.
Cool. The third question, answer it with your own degrees of comfort. But would you consider yourself to be religious at all? Or also would you be like more scientific minded with that as a focus, or agnostic minded with that as a focus? And does the existence of the esoteric and paranormal line up with your religious and or agnostic views?
I'm very religious. I believe in God. I believe in a relationship with God, in Jesus. Sometimes stuff in the Bible very clearly lines up with some of that stuff, and sometimes it doesn't. Clear cut as day. Sometimes the Bible condemns a lot of stuff in the supernatural world, but a lot of the stuff in the supernatural world isn't inherently as bad as the Bible makes it out to be, or bad at all sometimes. And sometimes, maybe, some stuff is. Like, maybe, demons are probably bad. They're probably up to no good, depending on what you would define no good as.
The Ouija board is not in this apartment right now. In case you were worrying.
Oh, I wasn't thinking about it until you brought it up just now.
I guess, like, historically it has been.
It has, but it's not
now.
Not
a while, yeah.
Rebecca, you want to answer the question?
That's a good answer, and I like that answer. I didn't mean to meme it. I just wanted to make it, comfortable. I didn't put the Ouija board
comfortable, yeah, but now I'm uncomfortable because I didn't know if it's in the house now. Is it?
It's not. It's not. It wouldn't be. Rebecca?
Is it in the okay, wait.
I don't feel that I'm connected to any type of religion, but I also don't feel particularly connected to the idea that there's no God or similar something. I guess I feel very so Brandon's making faces at me.
I'm supporting you.
So, but yeah, I don't feel any type of connection to any of it. Like, I wouldn't call myself agnostic or atheist either, because I don't feel like I've really spent a lot of time thinking about it, and I feel like it's not for me something that has been a part of my life significantly, which I went to church a couple of times with my parents. My mom went to Catholic school, so it was very important to her that we had the choice of if we wanted to be involved in it or not, because it was very strict for her upbringing. So I went to church a couple of times, but I was also young and kind of just paying attention to the kid I had a crush on was also in the church, so I was just paying attention to that and not to what they were saying, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like something that I'm almost putting off, but not in a bad way, of this isn't something that I feel a strong connection to or need to decide on anything right now. But at some point I feel I will connect to something, I guess.
I like that vibe.
Yeah.
I'm glad that both of you have the space of, will a ghost exist? Maybe.
Yeah, and I kind of feel the same way towards ghosts and spirits and stuff as that, of it makes sense to me that there's something, whether it's the form that we think of is a different thing, but I also haven't had a lot of paranormal experiences other than some help parking.
That's the...
So I feel kind of
It's paranormal at Oakland University. Yeah. Shouts.
We love to see it. So yeah, that's my connection. Very neutral.
Nice. I'm here for that. I have one last question before we jump in.
All right.
Is that... Oh, I see it. Do you have anything you want to plug?
Oh.
I plugged in my charger for the computer.
Yeah, love that. Anyone who's listening, take a long drink of water if you haven't, because that's what I'm working on.
Oh my god, that's not a thing to plug.
I have wine.
Plug drinking water.
Yeah, if you're... Hey, you guys want to recycle too? Jesus Oh, you want to take a shower? Get out of bed today? Actually, you should do all those things. Take care of yourself.
Get some air.
Get some air.
No. Take care of yourself, knowing that Brandon will make fun of you either way.
If I sing "No Air," will you get copyrighted by that?
No.
Okay.
Probably not.
Let's just put it in post. Ready?
Fungus.
No air. That's how your song goes.
I'll do it if you do it.
I know. I don't want you to get flagged.
Okay, I won't, because I think I'm fully
so
safe.
sweet. How can I breathe no air?
Air. How can I get no air? What am I singing?
Not the song.
Under my umbrella.
You're gonna get hit twice.
Anyway, Rihanna's coming.
I guess, yeah, we're plugging Rihanna and...
Beyonce.
What? Rihanna's what? Has she
you.
made music? Has she made music? Don't plug her. Is she...
Yeah, I have nothing to plug. I'm between all of anything, doing anything right now, which
Me
is
also.
an amazing. We can plug. If anyone wants to move into our old apartment, it's open. We can plug.
Movie time.
We can plug that.
Brandon, do you want to plug anything?
Yeah.
No, I think I'm good.
Cool.
Sick.
Alright, so the last bit of housekeeping. Today we're going to be dipping our fingers in the bookshelves to pluck out the Futura Stella compilation for our story. And the potion that I've brewed is a wine for the first time on the podcast besides the last episode, which was a bubbly rosé, so it doesn't count. We have the Porto 6 or 9.
6 sounds right.
Okay. Porto 69. It's a wine. It's a red. Very berry flavor notes. Tannins. I don't want to review the wine. I don't know what I'm doing.
Glad it's good though. It was
It's good.
a random find when I was picking up wine and general drinks to have with friends and family, and then saw it and went, oh, pretty picture on the front. So if you like a pretty bottle and also a cheap wine, it's a good one.
I like it. I feel like when I'm drinking the beer on the podcast, I can be like, the flavor profiles are fun, but once I get wine involved, it's like, oh, now I'm on the spot. Like, people are going to be like, actually, there's no tannins.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what a tannin is.
Just say it has like cumin in it or something. Like give them something you
Notes
know
of
is wrong.
charcoal?
Yeah. So then everyone will be like, there's no cumin in that. They sound like this for some reason.
Yeah.
You can say, oh, you didn't notice that I named blackberries instead of blueberries. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got notes of cabbage,
Dad.
water,
Cabbage,
just notes of water. It's a liquid.
cinnamon.
Ooh, it's not that though. That one I feel like you could.
You looked at me and said, actually, there's no cinnamon in this. You dumbass.
No, I'm saying because like I feel like that's too close to what would be in a wine. Like I feel
Okay.
like there's some cinnamony wines.
I broke the rules.
Yeah. Too many tannins.
Hmm.
It's good. It's not dry. I like dry, but it's not dry.
This is longer than the ghost story is gonna be.
God, this might be a long one.
We're keeping it quick.
Alright.
In and out.
In and out. Whataburger. You ready? If you had to guess where a quarter of the entire world's unfrozen freshwater supply is, which body of water would come to mind first?
Can you repeat that?
Can you please read that again? I'm
Please.
still getting over the cinnamon line. I need a moment to breathe.
If you had to guess where a quarter of the entire world's unfrozen freshwater supply is,
Unfrozen freshwater?
yeah,
Great.
which body of water would come to mind first?
Unfrozen freshwater is Great Lakes, isn't it?
Okay. Brandon?
Is it like one of them? Superior? That's big.
Brandon?
I'm so sorry.
Don't look it up, don't look it up. Don't. Not again.
Actively Googling a quarter of the world's.
Water supplies. Oh, ice caps and glaciers.
Unfrozen water.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Dude, just take a guess.
I'm
Okay.
looking it up.
What if I also told you that the body of water is the deepest lake in the entire world, having a depth of almost exactly a mile long?
It's Superior, isn't it? Maybe. Or it could be something else.
Lake Baikal?
What you could slip you could slip Burj Khalifa into it and then let it settle and then drop another one on top, and only the top 100 feet would be sticking out.
I do feel like the mile kind of clicked a little harder.
It's a mile deeper?
Now I'm like thinking
Yeah.
about.
Is it
how
a mile
tall the Burj
deeper?
Khalifa is.
It's like a half mile.
Half a mile deep? That's what she said.
She's got the Burj Khalifa pussy. You can stick a half a mile in there.
Burj Khalifa, he's the one that made black and yellow. I'm sorry.
I know, it's a good song.
That was my guess, though.
Shouts to Wiz Khalifa.
I'm not plugging. It's already.
What if I told you that this lake is also the old? Like Brandon already said it.
Brandon, where is this lake?
Lake Baikal.
Look it up.
It is in.
Sounds like Russia.
Macau. Where would it be? Like, where would you?
I think I'm just thinking of Moscow.
I'm guessing it does sound like it's from Russia in Siberia.
Big brain.
Boom! Rebecca
Yeah,
actually out here not Googling things, making eye contact.
You
with
asked
me.
me a question and I have the resources to answer.
Brandon cheats.
I don't
Brandon
cheat.
was a high
Sorry,
Rebecca.
Anyway, it's the oldest lake in the world. Oh, a typo. Having been formed somewhere between the last 25 to 30 years.
I don't... Like, starting?
I think I'm supposed to say million.
This lake is speed running.
This lake just went shoo
This
into
lake
the
is-
earth.
Interesting. The water is evaporating and coming back down.
Lastly, what if I told you that this lake is one of the clearest sources? It bored me, so I'm moving on. The clearest water sources in the entire world. That's subjective, though. Nobody actually can measure that. But I imagine if you haven't gotten to it yet, adding to this lake's you got it. Adding to this lake's resume won't help. So let's back it up a bit. What if I told you that in 1958, a Tupolev Tu-104 passenger airliner crashed into the lake? Bear in mind, there's no Wikipedia page dedicated to this crash. I bring this up because there are at least a dozen other crashes with this plane, but what there are instead are eyewitness reports from the town of Sliodianka off the southern coast of this lake, witnessing the airplane crashing ... while also being followed by a mysterious saucer-like aircraft. The Soviet that's a hint to help you figure out where the lake is. Authorities evidently made it all the witnesses sign a non-disclosure agreement regarding the event, but rest assured, it wouldn't be the only story, parentheses, although it is the most dubious, parentheses. We have aliens. We have flying saucers. We have swimming saucers. We have water dragons. We have governments, conspiracies. We have giants. We have ghosts even to a degree. Welcome, friends, to the longest introduction I've ever written. I mean, welcome to the paranormal soup that is 22% of Earth's liquid fresh water. Lake Baikal.
Yeah.
Yeah! It's the first alien episode.
I love a good alien story. I feel like
We're doing it.
I take back what I said about ghosts being, if I had to pick one, the real one. Now I'm gonna change my answer to aliens.
Well, you can't
Yeah.
switchies. You can't switchies.
Okay.
You're not Nintendo.
Ghosts. Like, we got ghosts.
It could be.
There's a ghost here.
Didn't the U.S. just say, "Oh yeah, there's ghosts for real though"? Like honestly, I don't think that was super recent. No, I think that was like a year ago.
Oh, when they were like, when the government was like, aliens?
Aliens for sure.
Aliens
Yeah.
are definitely out there.
Yeah. I
And
think
here.
it's silly for them not to be. I understand that people would have strong arguments for that too. It just seems like I have stronger ones right now.
My opinions are stronger. Said quotes Rebecca. Quotes. 2021. I like that idea. I definitely think that there's aliens out in the whole of the universe at a point, but sometimes I'll be reading a story and I'm like, oh, they might be here also. So it's one of them.
Let's hope they're not here.
Oh, they might be. Ready for some sources?
Yeah.
All right, we Wikipedia'd for a lot of it, but we also looked up the key to Baikal's website, namely an article, Horror from the Depths, What is Hidden in the Baikal Waters, but they wouldn't tell me the author, but there's also a bunch of articles on the key to the Baikal website in general. We have Aliens and UFOs at World's Deepest Lake at the Siberian Times website by also the wouldn't tell me the author. We have Lake Baikal is a holy to the Buryats on dw.com, Shouts to My Deutschers by Yuri Resheto. The Deep Mysteries of the World's Deepest Lake on Mysterious Universe by Brent Swanser. The Astonishing Legends podcast, thank you, episode 32, The Pearl of Siberia. There's a lot of them. Holy fuck. This Paranormal Life podcast, episode number 80, Cursed Humanoids Live 1 Mile Under the Russian Lake. I just found a comedy paranormal podcast. Plugging them too, I guess. The Encyclopedia of Lakes and Reservoirs by Rhodes Fairbridge, Reginald W. Hershey, and Lars Benston, which for legal reasons I bought. And lastly, a really it was like a textbook.
Oh, gotcha.
So I bought it. And lastly, a really comprehensive subreddit by Cindy Morrison Watts titled Lake Baikal, the enigmatic bottomless lake home to countless paranormal mysteries.
You gotta love
this
Reddit
episode's gonna be
sources.
long. I like Reddit sources. Sometimes it's like, okay, this one cuts to the chase, and it's probably like by somebody who's real, and they're not making money off of it. So
Like a real passion project.
yeah, it's a fun.
You mentioned that there's no Wikipedia page for it. Did you find any reasoning for that?
No, there's a Wikipedia page for the lake itself.
Oh, but not for the
plane crash.
Gotcha.
Yeah. There's a degree of, I think I'm going to write about it in a second. I don't remember it. But there's, like, a lot of stories that take place during Soviet-era Russia. So, like, sometimes I got to translate something. And sometimes it's hard to find a corroborative source to back it up. Because it's like, did they cover it up? Did they not? I think I'm getting to that in actual details that I don't remember. But I definitely wrote down. So, that'll come up. But sources are over, and I'm a pain. And this episode's research, the process brought me pain. I read so many things. That being said, I'm just going to discuss some geology, and then probably some cultural things, and then something spooky, I promise.
Right.
You ready for the Science Corner?
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Alright. Anybody have any opinions so far?
No. I just finished, like, relearning this loose era of history in Zoom high school.
Nice.
That not that I'm attending for myself, but that I'm attending with a Zoom high schooler. So that will be good to put in context, and also something I can tell her about during the week and go,
Oh.
hey, this might make it easier to remember the names of all these people.
Lake Baikal.
Yeah,
Well, hopefully it's not too spooky.
true.
Yeah, you might get scared and forget.
Ah, no.
Oh no, Russia!
You're Russian to forget about the scariness of this story. Siberia. Me too. Alright.
Siberia? I don't even know.
We love her. Love her.
I don't even.
Alright, so 22% of the Earth's unfrozen fresh water, or somewhere around that number, is here. Ready for some numbers that'll click?
Oh, yeah.
We're talking 23,615 cubic kilometers, also known as 5,000-ish cubic miles in volume, and 31,722 kilometers squared, or that's 12,248 square miles in surface area. For right, you got that?
Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, for reference, because it's right next door, Lake Michigan has 22,404 square miles, 58,030 kilometers squared of surface area, so twice as much, but it's got 1,180 cubic miles, or 4,900 kilometers cubed in volume, which is like Lake Michigan has 1/5 of the water of this lake, despite having twice as much surface area.
Gotcha.
So we did it. The buoy's maximum depth in numbers for Lake Baikal is 1,642 meters.
Burj Khalifa's so tall.
Virgie. Say that, you Virgie. Have I done that in the podcast? What if I just didn't reference that song until right now?
It does feel like it's been a recent days theme.
I really like it. Love Fool by the Cardigans. Check it out.
Wow, this whole time, So Justin Bieber sampled that song when we were in middle school for his hit song "Love Me," and I'm just finding out that that's not the one you've been singing.
No, I've been singing "Love Fool."
Ouch.
Love me, say that you love me, fool me, go on and fool me. Probably was a cover or something, or like a sample.
I think it was. We can listen to it after this.
Okay. In addition, there's an additional 4 miles of sediment, which is a fancy term describing freshwater iterating with the soil beneath the lake to make, like, not clear water, but, like, muddy. See that, you muddy. So 4 more miles of that, which you could probably swim if you wanted to.
That actually, so I'm also in high school biology currently.
Okay.
And we just finished learning about fossils and, like, the conditions that make the best fossils, and it sounds like it's literally that, of, like, watery and a lot of sediment is, like, there's likely a huge number of skeletons at the bottom of it, of different animals. Assuming that there was water there for a very long time.
Oh yeah, this is the oldest lake in the world.
Yeah.
So the most of it.
Yeah, so that'd be interesting.
I imagine there's probably a lot of fossils there. I think I'll get to it later, but there's like a lot of weird bones that people have found. Maybe I'll get to it. I don't actually remember writing it.
Cool.
If I don't, remind me.
Okay, we got it.
Yeah. She's deep. She's really deep, this lake. But the question is, how did she get so deep? Well, for the Great Lakes and stuff nearby, a large amount of the large lakes were caused by glaciers getting thick in the Ice Age, moving around a bit, making some holes, and melting. Lake Baikal, on the other hand, is a rift valley, which is when 2 tectonic plates literally straight up dip into the Earth's crust and start to get divergent, like the book series, which is a scientific term for pulling apart and forming mountains and shit. I used to want to be a geologist when I grew up. What the fuck happened? Why did I write that? Anyway, whatever. Anyway, this is called the Baikal Rift Zone. And yes, massive earthquakes happen here all the time. There may have even have been a 10-point something or another earthquake in 1861, which is on the Richter scale, which is logarithmic. The number that the scientists predicted the Californians should be afraid of is a 10-pointer. Like when people are like, California, big earthquake, it might be 10 points. I think Lake Baikal had one. They just didn't have the Richter scale back in the 1860s. So
it goes, like, right down the middle of the lake, is that right?
The lake is the water accumulating where the tectonic rifts are pulling apart.
Gotcha.
Shoo.
Oh, pulling apart. Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's why it's deep. Bear in mind, yeah, I said that. I think an entire town-sized bay formed when the town fully sank into the lake, then by several meters. Mm-hmm. So, oops. People died.
So so a whole town sank into the lake
in the 1860s.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's okay.
Okay, so they were probably like racist.
they were
Russian. They can't be racist because of serfdom, right?
Probably. Yeah.
1860s. Was serfdom going on during?
I really did.
Probably.
Learn about that like 2 months ago, and it's gone already.
I feel like Russian Revolution is when that stopped. And that was like right around the corner.
Yes, they were rushing to get rid of their
They wanted their Tsar to go quite far.
That was
Yay! Comedy! Did we have anything we wanted to add? I'm gonna go back to my script. Are you looking up something?
Yeah. Don't worry about it though.
Okay, cool. I think, okay, so people died, but it was a while ago, so I can make a joke about it. This fella is the deepest continental rift in the world, and in many thousands of years, the whole continent is probably going to split there. It'll just, when it'll do that, like, Asia will probably split apart at that point.
1861 in Russia, peasants free from dependence on landowners. I'm just citing Wikipedia.
Wait, did you get the month? Because that's the year that this earthquake happened.
Ooh.
I don't have the month. So I don't know. Maybe this started it.
I will keep an eye out. I think it's Alexander II is in charge.
Okay. That's really funny. So this earthquake happened the same year.
Oh, I wonder how much people talked about it.
This is in Siberia. So it's like not close to Moscow.
Yeah.
But still. Interesting. Interesting. It's all coming together.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of geology stuff, though, there's also a lot of hot springs and gas type, the natural under the crust methane type things, not fossil fuel things, and So there's a bunch of hot springs nearby. But there's also potentially a weird thing that I'll get to where there's this leading theory that isn't magical or alien that involves the methane, but we'll get there. Like I said, though, this gas outlet type thing is how scientists, along with, like, ancient ice, discovered the it'll happen when we're drinking for the pod. So the methane bubbles are how they got to the point where it's like, is it 25 to 30 million years old? Probably, because they're measuring the bubbles. And other things, probably. But yeah.
They should be measuring also the blossoms and the buttercups.
Mm-hmm.
It's that Powerpuff Girls.
Oh.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Bubbles and...
Yeah, you.
Oh, I thought you were going to make a methane reference. I was like... That's the fourth methane. Chemical X.
Oh.
And the city of Baikal.
If you have kids, don't feed them methane. It's not a Powerpuff.
Yeah, kids don't feed them meth.
That too.
It was the 1860s.
Oh,
That's
everybody's giving their kids meth.
They're like, oh, you have the sniffles?
Meth.
It's your meth.
Stop messing around.
Making them real meth of the place.
That's what I think of every time.
Sorry.
Say a thing.
No.
Please.
We gotta continue. Continue.
So we also have a sort of endemic biological situation in as much as this place is isolated enough environmentally from the rest of the world so that the flora and fauna sort of evolve in a little bubble. Throwback. That being said, the evolution is still kind of deer, waterfowl, rodents, algae, zooplankton, that sort of taiga fare. Red foxes are there. So shouts to me. That being said, we have NERPA.
I'm not asking.
I'm not asking either. I'm not asking.
No, we got NERPA.
Go on, continue. Continue the script.
AKA the only entirely freshwater seal species in the world, besides bofa.
Wait, NERPA? I don't even know.
Nerp on these nuts.
Nerp war with my Nerp gun.
Nerp sounds like a foster home for imaginary friends character.
NERPA.
Can you say that?
Probably not. How did we get there? Who knows? How did they get there? Who knows?
What are they?
NERPA.
But what are they?
Freshwater seals.
Thank you.
I don't really see them.
But they're here. Are you already? You always saying something and I sort of go ahead with the script. Just whenever there's a pause, it's permission.
I'm just gonna hide.
Do you all want a paranormal intermission?
Yeah.
Something scary? In 2011, a Yamaha boat with 4 experienced boaters decided to boat. Having gone out on the lake many, many times before, they knew the drill. Bring a charged cell phone, get a GPS going, don't crash. What's so funny?
Nothing.
Drinking game, take a shot every time Aaron says boat. Just went so hard on it for one sentence, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it was intentional, but I forgot about it, so it might not have been.
We gotta stop.
They went to the lake many times before, so they know the drill. They left in the village of it's not the village of Kabansk, because that's an area around the lake, towards the south. As soon as they headed out, a thick fog suddenly enveloped the lake, and hours passed without a response signal from the crew. People sent texts, tried to track down the GPS, and never received a response. The fog receded, and the Yamaha boat was nowhere to be found. Ever again. Even experienced divers searching for the missing boat found, quite literally, no trace of evidence. Now, if a boat were to sink, this is the lake where it'd be trickiest to find the wreckage, inasmuch as this is the largest lake in the world by volume. Remember?
Does the water get, like, rocky in bad weather? I don't feel like I know a lot about lakes.
Probably not. I think it's like...
wooded.
I don't think it gets, like, icy. I mean, it gets icy sometimes.
Like...
Oh, yeah, I guess. It's like Great Lakes-ish size, so...
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
That kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But Russian. So it's a thick lake. Who could lose it? But, anyone. But yeah, it got a sort of Bermuda Triangle with magnetic equipment and GPS stuff going haywire and disappearances happening up until 2011. So who knows what's going on with that. Paranormal Intermission over. That one was tame. It's gonna get weirder. You ready for History Corner?
Of course.
Science Corner over. Bye-bye. I'm gonna sip my little wine now. Any thoughts?
That's creepy. I've always thought the whole, because like I think we talked about this before, how terrifying the lake is. Because I wasn't really scared about the lake until we talked about this.
Michigan has a Michigan Triangle at Lake Michigan.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's because like we don't know where, especially after seeing the Atlantis movie.
Oh, yeah.
You just watched Atlantis. Oh, not the Disney one.
Oh yeah.
No.
It's a good movie.
Oh, we have to watch that one.
Yeah, it's one of those, like, because we know so little about the ocean, but I think about the ocean. I take lakes for granted.
The lake is the
Should think
ocean.
harder.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I wonder about the rift. How, I mean, I know it probably takes a long time, but when would it just become ocean time?
Very many thousands of years, but it will happen at this point because of the fact that it's a rift.
Gotcha.
It's like when the continents do their little drifty thing, this is where it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Probably like go into Mongolia and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
It's crazy. That being said, you ready for History Corner?
Absolutely.
The first people to inhabit the area around the lake were the Kurikins, who lived across parts of Siberia where the lake is, if I haven't mentioned that yet. Baikal is a Kurikin word meaning much water.
Makes sense?
Yeah. This place is really close to the Mongolian border, actually, so sometimes Mongolia was in charge of it historically, and then the Chinese dynasties get it in on the action sometimes, namely the Han Dynasty and the Xianshu Confederation, who had a war there once. This wasn't just the Wikipedia page verbatim, I promise. In 1643, Russian explorers delving into Siberia, namely Kurbat Ivanov in this case, found the lake, and throughout the 1500s and 1600s, Russian explorers were undermining the loose group of political vassals under the Khanate of Sibir, who was in charge of Siberia at that time, which is like Russian history stuff. But like at the end of the 1600s, Siberia is Russian now. Bada boom. The Trans-Siberian Railroad is built at the end of the 19th century, and it gets in on the Lake Baikal action. It's got some stops on there. Somewhere around this time, there was the Hell earthquake I mentioned earlier. And then also during the Russian Revolution, Russian Civil War thing, we have a sort of Russian retreating in winter and killing everybody behind them situation going on. But this time, it was reversed because the White Army, the not communists, crossed the frozen lake to retreat from the Red Army, the communists, and then learned that it was huge and cold, and so many of the whites died. I didn't mean to word that in a funny way, but I did. It's like they tried to cross the lake being like, run away, and then knew it's a great lake. So, oops. Yeah. Throughout the rest of the 20th century, we get a bit of ecotourism, because it's pretty. And there's a huge paper mill that they had to stop because it made the clear water less clear. And then a bunch of military testing happened here, which will be important later. And then some towns and cities were nearby. And then the lake was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1996.
What does that do?
It's
What
like
does that
the I think I don't remember if it's NATO or the UN, but they come together. Oh, it's UN because it's the UNESCO. Silly me.
Ah.
They're like, this is a natural or a historical architectural place that we're gonna preserve because maybe it'll be under threat of destruction. There's like a bit of ice melting in the cap area going on, and like pollutants in the air getting in on the making the lake less clear action. So there's like some global warming stuff happening to it, but it's far clearer than most lakes, so it's safe. Interesting tidbit, 19th century people around there believed that Jesus Christ visited, which is probably something that the preachers sneaked into the religion Bene Gesserit style for those Dune fans, which neither of you are.
yeah, I don't know what you're talking
Dune.
about.
I read Dune.
Oh, you mean Doom, the game?
Dune,
Ah.
like sand dunes, but desert spice planet.
Someone out
Zendaya's
there
in
went, yes!
Oh,
when you
yeah.
said that.
Someone's like,
Oh, the Bene Gesserit? Who could be the Quasit's Hatterack? They were doing that. Which I do actually every time I see a Dune reference. Traveler... Do it again. Traveler T.E. Atkinson writes... We were playing Ticket to Ride earlier, so I got toxic and salty and grumpy.
Toxic.
And now I'm not going to bully Brandon anymore because I didn't even win.
Dot is a dot there. Sorry, you can continue. You can do it.
I almost won. So. The people have a T.E. Travels or T.E. Atkinson writes. The people have a tradition in connection with this region which they implicitly believe. They say that Christ visited this part of Asia and ascended this summit, whence he looked down on all the region around. After blessing the country to the northward, he turned towards the south, and looking across the Baikal, he waved his hand, exclaiming, "Beyond this, there is nothing." Thus they accounted for the sterility of Dauria, where it is said, "No corn will grow." So, was Jesus there? Probably not. Other than that, indigenous Siberian people practice the Buryat sort of shamanism religiously in this area. This religion features shamans getting really connected to spirits in the spiritual world, and apparently Lake Baikal, known as the sacred Baikal Sea, when translated, is a major holy site. I don't think it's like not a religion where it's like, here's the name of a religion, Catholics. It's just like the sort of, like, I don't know if they have a name for it specifically besides Buryat, which I think is both a culture and a religion. This is now, they have an international shaman conference that meets at the lake, and this has been going on for 13 years. Oh, the major, air quotes, high spirit deity, because it's not like deity in the same vein as like a Abrahamic vibe or anything like that, is Huhe Mangi Tengri, a semicolon eternal blue sky, and then there are some minor deities, but that's the cool one. Aijana are spirits that protect over certain regions and bodies of water, and there are a bunch of Ankan, which are figurines to represent the Aijana, everywhere across the Baikal area. Another big part of the Buryat tradition is the fact that we got a water dragon / sea serpent living in the lake named Lusud Khan, among other names, who's kind of described as having a huge sturgeon-esque body with sailfin-esque fins and a dragon's face and a tail and armor. He's cool. Love him. Water dragon. While he was spotted a bunch back in the day, and more lately by fishermen also to this day, in the modern areas, we still see something like the Lusud Khan in a bunch of cave paintings and things. So it's like cool to see in the real world if you're a fisherman. Like, look at that. Oh, cave painting? He's been around. Look at this dude. We love it. Other spooky stuff involves, like, the aforementioned mist that disappeared people, and a bunch of orbs in the sky, cough, UFOs, or ghosts of varying color, and then they move irregularly, and then sometimes there's a bunch of mirages and stuff on the lake, but not like normal mirages. It's namely European-style castles, which weren't ever built in the area, and then trains and stuff, which were. So, there's some like ghosty stuff going on here to a degree in a water dragon. But aside from the aforementioned Christianity and the Soviet inspired state atheism that happened for a sec, there was also a good deal of Buddhist monasteries in the area, in addition to the Buryat culture. This next point is the most apocryphal thing of all time. The Wikipedia page doesn't even give it any credence, but there is the smallest chance Genghis Khan was born on an island in Lake Baikal, Olkhan Island. Probably didn't happen, but people pass that legend around. History is over now.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I'm curious about, like, because it's so big, if there's sections of it that are like, these things happen here and these things happen here, and like, or if it's like you can see any of this at any point along the way.
I don't think I got a good map going mentally. It started with like knowing that this was found here and this was found here without like getting all the cross reference. I imagine there's degrees of like places around the lake where it's happened.
Yeah.
I guess the orbs and the mists are viewed from all points, but I think like the water dragon type sightings are more localized in one area than the others.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Bada boom. Oh, intermission time, because I have to talk about Lake Tanganyika and Lake Vostok again, which it doesn't have to do with this lake at all, but we'll get to why. There's a previous episode where I made a mistake, and I'm retconning it because we're talking about lakes again.
Yeah.
So get ready for something that you will have no frame of reference for, y'all.
All right.
Woo! Science Corner isn't over yet, plebeians.
Why?
I don't write these sober.
Plebeians.
Serfs. Serfs up.
No, you gotta cut that. You gotta cut it.
Why?
You gotta cut it.
Why? Serfs up.
You cut it.
Okay, do you want me to pause? You know what? This is the part that doesn't affect you. Okay. So go for it. Okay. I'm cutting that because it's pee talk. Anyway, I want to talk about two other lakes real quick. One, because I think it's neat, and a second, because it's going to help me retcon a lie I told about in a previous episode. Rebecca went to do something, so she'll be back. You don't have the briefest context, so get lost, but I'll bring you back. Or like, you'll get lost. Don't get lost.
What?
I appreciate you.
Wait, what?
Don't get lost.
Okay.
Okay, boom. One, the third deepest lake, if you don't count Crummy, the Caspian Sea, is Lake Vostok, fully buried underneath Antarctica, which is like under a thick-ass layer of ice, and then on the land, and then deep. So if you want to get another frame of reference for just how deep Lake Baikal gets, here's Bada Boom, another one. The second deepest lake in the world, which is classic throwback Lake Tanganyika, which borders Tanzania in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and also Burundi and Zambia. Lake Tanganyika is also, which I didn't mention in the dancing/laughing plague episode that I did, another rift lake, where the plates are diverging. So guests, I did an episode about a bunch of people laughing randomly, and then it's spreading like a disease in the villages really close to this lake, villages in Tanzania, and also then known as Tanganyika, because it changed right after it got its independence. Like 3 years it had that name, and then it changed because it joined some other countries. This is known as the Tanganyika laughter epidemic, and it happened in 1962, and it resembled a dancing epidemic that happened in 1518, which is the majority of the episode that I'm talking about, which happened in France. In that episode, I claimed that, unlike witch-hunty folks in Europe back in the day, no one claimed that the laughter epidemic was caused by anything paranormal. They were just like, this is weird, because it happened in the 1960s. But then when I was doing research for the Hot Eligible Cryptid Bachelors episode, an absolute slam dunk episode, check it out, I stumbled across the cryptid, the Popobawa, and then I was going to bring it up in that episode, but I just straight up forgot. So here's the retcon for real. The Popobawa, and I'm only going to look up one Wikipedia page for this, so it's so tangential, is a Shaitani, which is a West African, mostly malevolent spirit in the various religions around that area, and is a shapeshifter, but it mostly looks like a one-eyed demon-y humanoid with bat wings, and its name is translated as Batwing. Batwing. He usually visits homes at night and then does poltergeisty stuff and then smells like sulfur. And then the thing about the Popobawa is that it mostly appears as a during tumultuous times, like the decolonization of Tanganyika around, you guessed it, 1961 and 62, as well as other major political events. And the main thing that also follows these huge spikes of sightings is a mass hysteria type effect, I guess, which is like what a laughter epidemic could be. So it's probably 99% definitely true that the laughter epidemic was mass psychogenic illness at that point, but I was wrong when I said that there was absolutely zero ghosty type stuff going on in Tanzania at the time. So now I retconned it. Making this related is so crazy because now we're talking about lakes. And Popobah is spotted further east towards the ocean, but shh. That's the segue. We can go back to the story, but I guess we're waiting for Rebecca to get back. Hey everyone, we're back. Rebecca has some interesting news.
Yeah, on our little break, I was looking up where it was to give myself like a frame of reference and found it on Google Maps, and it's a verified location, which means people can leave reviews. So I've been reading through the reviews. I'll read you a couple of my favorites. Someone just said, "I love how Google works in voice command search too." That's not related to it like at all. There's some really beautiful pictures of people who have gone, which I like highly recommend scrolling through.
Yeah.
There's like lots of different groups of people. This is just the first one I saw.
I like that.
Some good YouTube videos to look up. This one says, quote, "Very big and very deep. Good for dumping bodies in there as it takes ages for anyone to find them." Which a lot of people said was helpful.
Classic. Actually, I don't think there's a lot of serial killer true crime stories that happened, but I didn't actually look that up because this is not a true crime podcast.
Here's another good one. 16 people found this helpful. It's actually a 4-star review.
Okay.
The others have been 5. This one says, quote, "I almost drowned here, but it would have been a better place to die than my bed, if you know what I mean. Smiley face. 4 stars for being a great place to die." I don't know if I'm supposed to credit people, but this is from Zyrick McGee. So thank you.
I love Dr. McGee.
Thank you for the heads
McGee.
up. And then there's a
I
lot
love
of like
that.
information as well. I'm trying to get to the 1-star reviews. That's what I want the most because there are some.
Oh, good.
So keeping an eye out for that.
Cool. Do you want me to continue while you do your little
Oh,
pokey
absolutely.
poke? Perfect. We got through all the boring stuff and then my retcon. So now we get to go to high strangeness, everybody. You ready?
Let's do it.
Back to the story. Let's get into aliens for the first time on this podcast, everybody. Though this lake is a large example of high strangeness, which I think is a term in the paranormal community which describes ghosty, cryptidy, alien-y, magic-y stuff all happening at the same space besides those things not being related. That happens here. There are so many sightings of UFOs, UFOs but underwater submerged objects. But then also the aforementioned floating orbs and stuff, which I talked about, which is what aforementioned means. But it could be a UFO to a degree. Who's to say? There are a handful of specific stories that are specifically crazy. Yeah, I said specific twice. All being said, in terms of anything, I do that a lot. I don't think I'm doing it as a joke. I think I wrote this when I was very high in a state where it's legal to be high. All being said, in terms of anything that happened during the Soviet Union, the stories are sometimes incredibly dubious, but not only because they redacted a lot of information back in the day, but a lot of people may have made up something / churned the rumor mill so much that false fake stories get passed off as government cover-ups. That being said, the Russian government did recently declassify a bunch of reports of things they saw in the sky and can't explain, much like the U.S. Navy did a few years ago, which you were talking about. So Russia's getting in on that too. Does that help the validity a bit? Maybe. None of this changes the fact that researching this episode was a nightmare, and I hate this lake.
So does K.S. Probst, who gave it 2 stars and said too much water.
Much water.
Thank you.
That's what it was. The name. Baikal is much water.
Yes.
Much water.
Adding the 2.
Two.
Translation thing along the way.
Too much water?
Too much water.
That's like
1 water.
yeah, only 1 much water.
3 much water?
Oh
my god.
That gets me wet. Let's talk about that plane crash, though. Remember from the cold opening?
Yes.
From 700 months ago? In 1958, the 1958 Tupolev Tu-104, or in other articles it was a Tu-154, but that's just going from a twin-engine jet to a triple passenger jet crash into the lake. According to some sites, the crash took place closest to this town of Slodianka, and the southern end of the lake. That was the most slurred sentence. It involves the pilots in the control room reporting an unidentified saucer-esque craft sort of chasing them, and then prompting them to panic and crash. I don't think there were any survivors, but it also didn't say if there were any non-pilot passengers on the plane of anything, like on the sources that I found. What the articles did tell me, though, is that so many fishermen saw a flying saucer chase the plane as it crashed, and then apparently fishermen see like saucers in the lake all the time, so they're like, oh, there we go, thinking about it again. But in addition to that, apparently the USSR government showed up and then documented the craft and then made the locals sign non-disclosure documentation to like do a cover-up. And so now that's the thing that's going to be disclosed. We're like, is it dubious? Is it not? It's not really online as much. But now, Skeptic Hour, that's the easiest excuse to explain why this crash doesn't have a Wikipedia page. Nor did the Tupolev Airplane Crash Archive, which there are like 7 of these boys that crashed. Not the best plane. Like, I'm pretty sure 200 were made, which is like a 5% track record.
Yeah.
Which you don't want for an airplane. So this thing wasn't great. But I also looked up the Bureau of Aircraft Accident Archives website because I have a billion sources I have to look through on this story, like a sad man. And apparently Russia/the USSR had a secret organization, Institute 22, where they investigated UFO sightings in like the literal sense of the word, where it's like unidentified flying objects. Who is it? I don't know. Kind of like the US had with Project Blue Book, though only 2,000 reports came out and only around 10% couldn't just be, or like only around 90%. Okay, 90% could be explained as like a thing. Only 10% were like, what is that? Weird. A lot of stuff got disclosed. This story didn't. So, who's to say? They are still disclosing files to this day, so maybe it'll show up, but it hasn't. I don't believe this particular story, TBH, but a lot of people do, for whatever reason, and this is the crash that gets UFO people to show up for like a yearly annual party, as opposed to some other things that have happened that are crazier. Anyway, let's get to the next story because it's great, and I like to call it The Poor Sad Divers. But before we get to it, anybody have any thoughts? I've just been talking for a sec.
Oh no, I'm excited to hear this Poor Sad Divers thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wait. I don't know why they're poor and sad.
Oh, we'll see. 1982. My least favorite lake in the world, Lake Baikal. 7 military divers are doing some military diving training, and then they were diving around like 164 feet, which is 50 meters. And then all 7 of them reported seeing 3 humanoid figures without scuba gear and silver overalls and having a goofy fishbowl helmet. And classic deep lake, let's swim deeper and see what's up. They swam deeper and then were like, oh, it's really lake. So it turns out that these people that we thought were humanoid figures were actually 3 meters tall. Uh-oh. Almost 10 feet for you silly Americans. Then, for whatever reason, Fred from Scooby-Doo, aka the diving commander at the time, went after them with a net to try to catch them. It did not work. Not only did it not work, but all 7 divers were yeeted out of the lake by some unknown force that pulled them up, and then they got all the way to the surface and then did a little float and then back on the land, or on just like the surface. This is very bad because when you're really deep in the water, there's a lot of pressure and you have to depressurize, or else you get decompression sickness, which kills you. Mm-hmm. Typically, divers at deep depths have to surface slowly to prevent this from happening, so when a magical yeet force breaches you in 1 second, you have to get to a decompression chamber immediately, which I actually don't know what they look like, or you'll die. They had one on standby, but it could only fit 4 of them, so 3 people just straight up died. including the captain. And then the other 4 got to the chamber because of the way that the sickness works with the speed at which they got to the surface. They had to deal with brain damage and muscle damage and respiratory issues and a lot of things for the rest of their life. So, sad divers. Just like the airplane crash, this story was also kind of initially covered up / had fishermen nearby that needed to sign some paperwork. But this one was actually declassified. To the point where the documents don't say alien or anything. They just say they saw weird humanoids, that's the word they used, at the lake, and then got to the surface immediately. And then died. So this is a declassified one.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, this one's weird. There's some explanations for seeing weird things, and as much as getting to deep pressure and having nitrogen and stuff involved can get hallucinations going to a degree, as well as other side effects. So some have speculated that the divers saw some weird NERPA or some weird BOFA. So that kind of works, maybe, but they do not get to be 3 meters long at all. That's not a real thing. Or neither do any of the large fish in the lake. There's not, like, crazy fucking pike or anything. Fish don't get that big there, from what I could find. Nothing explains the weird force pushing them out of the lake very quickly. That's weird. Thoughts?
Yeah, because, like, that for experienced divers to get, like, surprised by a creature that definitely lives there and they know it lives there, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah. They would probably still breach slowly.
Yeah, you can't surprise yourself into, like, shooting upwards.
Yeah, you can't go, woo!
Yeah.
It's not Looney Tunes, you know? You can't just fall in the air.
That's the one that's, like, putting a pin in that, like, what the fuck?
Very specific.
Yeah,
it's really so specific. Not only that, but this story takes place kind of really close to another story, so I'm going to put it in the same category. Although this one was 5 years earlier in 1977, when the Soviet Navy is in a submarine now, even deeper in the lake, because what could go wrong? Right. This one doesn't go as wrong. This one's okay. The Pegasus, the sub, was doing a deep water exercise at 1,200 meters deep enough to have complete darkness if the sub's lights were to turn off randomly. I'm not ominous. Suddenly, the sub's lights randomly turned off. Woo! And everybody got really stressed really quickly about the equipment failing. Then, almost right away, a new intensely bright light source illuminated from under the craft and then was rising up to meet the sub, but the light was blinding enough so that none of the crewmates could see what was flashing it. But at a point, the light was directly trained on the sub like it was being studied. And then eventually the beam shifted and then went off and then slowly grew dimmer and dimmer as it went deeper into the lake until the sub remained in darkness. But then the lights turned on and the guys slowly rose to the surface this time, but like pretty quickly, but they didn't want to get decompression sickness, so they lived.
Good.
They did it.
Good.
Nobody has ever explained what it is, and it wasn't like the military was throwing subs in the lake to... It's not like the military was throwing subs in the lake to train at the same time, because that's expensive to get a sub in a lake, then you're going to put it in the ocean. Yeah. Because they would probably telegraph it. So something was down there, too. That got declassified. That one's crazy. Outside these stories, we got some petroglyphs and paintings on the wall, kind of like Water Dragon, but a lot of those have goofy fishbowl helmet people and are very old. So, what?
Have you seen, like, are they...
Oh, I did look at them.
Yeah.
They might be here. I think I, like, got picked... Oh, yeah, I got... you can come around and see. This is a podcast, so nobody in the audience will see it, but this is one of them. That'll come up. Oh, this is an orb. Somebody got a picture of an orb. But it's an orb, and it glows. But if you want to see it, Brandon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's got some aliens already. What do you guys think?
That's creepy.
They're, like, in the lake for some reason.
Yeah. They're just, like, swimming around.
Because I feel like we hear a lot of military-based stories a lot of the time in situations like this. So for it to be the military sending in the submarine, right? For that to be, like, happening, it it doesn't make sense that would be the like explanation.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's hard to imagine what else would be down there at the point, especially if it's like Cold War Russia, and it would take a significant amount of effort to get a submarine into Siberia and into the lake.
Yeah, and then to go like that far down too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then to have the technological failure of the other sub too.
Yeah.
Very weird. Mm-hmm. More UFOs though have been seen here. It doesn't stop. Mm-hmm. The Navy aren't the only people to see the UFOs. The villagers all along Lake Baikal get their fair share of sightings. In April of 1887, in the village of Kerma around Irkutsk, Valerie Rudenstov reported a sighting while around 13 of her friends around midnight. They were just vibing. The Siberian Times has a translated interview with her, but it's Google Translate. So what is she saying? This is what I'm about to say. Could have some typos. But she's quoted as saying, "One of our guys went out into the yard. A few seconds later runs and calls all of us out. He stood in the center of the yard and pointed his finger at the sky. Diagonally from his gesture, 150 meters above us, hung a huge flying saucer. From the center of the plate went a phosphorescent purple ray, and at the edge of the plate were yellow portholes, almost like in our rural houses. The diameter of the plate was 70 meters, and we saw it so clearly, and for a long time, someone even suggested he throw a stone at it. The weather was amazingly quiet. No sound was heard from the hanging saucer, although behind us in the village of Kerma, there were noises of dogs barking and the lowing of cows. Probably mooing. Mm-hmm. We were spellbound. It was a full moon, and the visibility was so clear that none of us had doubt about the reality of what we saw. And then the plate slid slowly away, sailed along the shore of the bay, and further slipped into the hills of Olkhan. Neither before nor after have I ever met such a thing."
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Bada boom. There's another story that takes place right on the lake, though the storyteller Vyacheslav Lavretovic, who was a rescuer on the lake, reports without giving a date. So who knows when this happened. But he did get some pictures, which is the glowy thing I showed you earlier. I'll happily share with my guests, but anyone listening is just going to have to deal with not seeing them. We were on a yacht in Lake Baikal, and from under us flew out a huge glowing disc. It blinded us, and for a second flew into the sky. We did not have time to grab any cameras nor take video, although many of us saw it. It was huge, and lit up all of our yacht. In diameter, it was probably 500 to 700 meters, a huge disc. For 3 minutes, it shone from below the surface, and then abruptly departed in a second. The spectacle was huge, awesome, beautiful, and shocking. He was with a friend. Oh, this is the quote is over. He was with a friend who also reported seeing the lights. It is a common occurrence to see odd craft, balls of light, or either of those things. But under the water, and then coming out of the water? Could it be UFOs? Or could it be something I'll talk about at my next point? Excellent segue, but that's like, we got UFOs flying around it, but going into the lake all the time. And they're also like big ones, like, that guy, there's like the first one was 7D, but sometimes they get to be like 700 meters across in diameter, which is like thick.
Mm-hmm. What's that in feet, loosely?
So if 3 meters is 10 feet.
Okay. Many.
More.
Many.
Like
pretty big. Pretty big.
What's that in today's feet?
What's that in like the
Gamer
actual metric system, not with your
gamer girl feet?
Oh, okay.
But aliens.
Yeah, aliens.
Alien Lake. I do have a point on that, but that'll come in the conclusion. Whatever. The last thing that happens is ice ring. Oh, there's a bunch of other things that happen. Oh, yeah, I never talked about it. So I think I couldn't find a source online, but Astonishing Legends, the podcast, and then I think This Paranormal Life, the podcast, were talking about somebody finding like 3-meter skeletons at a point along the lake. That happened. I don't think I saw a picture, but they were talking about that the podcast people saw a picture, and I didn't look it up.
Just say 10 feet.
Yeah, could. I got Canadians that listen to this, among other people.
Okay, that's fair.
Gotta do this meaty. But those have been seen. Tall skeletons.
Tall
skellies.
Bones.
Then there's the ice rings, but this is the boring part where it got explained. For a while, people have seen weird rings around weird rings of darker ice on the ice of Lake Baikal. What got crazy is that once they got up in the ISS in space, along with other satellites, these things are actually large enough to be seen from the space station. When they look down, they're like, whoa, that's weird. In April of 2009, they actually got a nice photograph, and then it got... Get wrecked again, audience. This is an auditory medium. No pictures for you. Anyway, there's a degree of crop circle-ness going on here. Obviously, it's a UFO taking off, maybe. Except probably not, because I think these ice rings can be like miles long from what it looks like. It's probably nothing that big. And anyone would probably see it at that point. Like the big mile spaceship. You can't get away with that. But the go-to thing that people come up with this time is methane gas. Coming back, forming a bubble. Powerpuff Girls. Full circle. Full ice circle. Which also sometimes explains the colorful sky orbs. If you're a nerd who's skeptical and is like, oh, orbs? Methane. That blew up. Boring. The methane is easy. Because, I think these sorts of gas hydrates that cause these sort of things are pretty much only found in the ocean, but this is the deepest lake in the world and is a Rift Valley lake instead of a glacial lake. So it's got the under the plate action going on that can probably tap into methane. So maybe it makes sense. So we're not also dealing with, so it's not like we're dealing with a small thing. I don't remember what that means. Also, you know what releases heat like this? In the past 20 years or so, and can probably melt ice and release weird methane gas fissures quicker in the 2009 than it did back in the day? Global warming. So we're close to the ice melting zone, so it's probs just that. So the global warming's making the methane pop the bubbles. Probably not flying saucer circles, but people see that and they're like, that's weird. And I think it got explained in certain cases on different lakes, including one in Michigan that I read in the Linda Godfrey book, Weird Michigan, because I'm going to bring her up every podcast if I can, because I love her. There was a ice circle thing that I think they found out was methane, and I think another one in Canada. They didn't find it specifically for this lake, but the symptoms are close. But yeah, conclusion time. Getting to the wrapping it up. So, personally, I believe in diver incident and the light submarine incident and the UFO sightings. I don't think there's a weird plane crash. I don't think there's a sea serpent. And I don't think that Genghis Khan or Jesus ever lived there. And I do believe in the methane. But I imagine that there is a spirit thing going on with the lake, because the lake is the size of Belgium to a degree, and there's a lot of spirit stuff going on in a lot of places. So there's not tied to the lake, perhaps, but there's probably a degree of spiritual. I'm seeing the sea serpent. I'm seeing a ghost. It's some parts of the lake.
It could be like projections for the UFO.
Damn.
Could be them.
Okay.
Could be them learning over time.
They're getting
collecting data and then making projections and trying to confuse people.
They're doing the Benny Gesserit thing from Dune.
I don't know what Dune. There is no Dune fans here.
There's some Dune fans in the chat.
Yeah, there is just you.
Hey, to the one Dune fan in the chat, if you made a mess in your pants, that's okay. Because of the cum. Because I made them cum.
Yeah, come over and tell me what the hell is Dune. What the fuck is Dune?
It's a good book.
I don't read, Aaron.
Read Dune first.
No,
I like Dune.
Oh, was that the one that they're making a movie with, like, Timothée Chalamet? And
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched the movie.
There's going to be 2 movies. Watch Dune. Plugging Dune. And then watch this David Lynch one, which I liked the first half of. And then just read the book.
Cool.
Dune.
Dune.
Thoughts?
On Dune?
Yeah.
On Dune or the Alien?
Both. Oh, both have both.
I think...
You go.
You go.
No.
You go first. I want to hear your opinion. Go ahead. Go on. Go on, say it. What's your opinion?
Do it and you're cool.
No, I was just wondering for the divers if there's... Cause I don't know a single thing about the science, to preface it. But if there's anything with the way that the methane gas like rises that could shoot people up immediately fast.
You know, I didn't think about that. That could be it, and I don't know enough about science either, but bubbles being released quickly could do something like that.
It also does feel like, though, if they declassified reports, then it would make sense for them to like put a scientific explanation if there is one, if they don't want people to be like stressed.
Yeah.
But also timelines and when they figured stuff out and everything. Just a curious question.
I didn't think about that. I don't think Gabe has been on the podcast yet, but I did a lot of the research around Gabe and was talking about it, and he didn't bring up that, but he was like, I can see the decompression sickness making people see things like that, because my friend, who will probably be on a podcast episode in the future, shouts to Gabe Appleton, said that his dad was a diver and that it is possible to, like, or his dad has diver friends, and it is possible to do hallucination, and he was confused as to the little shoot thing without an explanation, but that would be one that I'd believe in. Like, if that happened, I'd be like, fine, I'll believe it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I just have no idea what speed that happens, if it's like a casual bubble, or if it's a big bubble, or if you'd see it, like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Captain could have lost it.
Captain
cut all the
the bubble with the net or something.
No, like cut all the scuba tanks and then it shoots them up.
Yeah.
Captain could have. All it takes is just like one ping, and then it.
Oh, and like a.
Yeah, and then it goes straight up. Yeah.
I don't know either, but I like it.
It's like like somebody. All it takes is one person or something to sabotage their scuba tanks, and then they just like shoot up, right?
I feel like you'd have to do it 7 times.
Yeah, but what could do it 7 times? At first, I was like,
Shouts to Mission Impossible.
Shout out to the first part of the Mortal Kombat theme.
That one too. Yeah, that's what you're doing.
Oh well, I don't know what I was doing, but yeah, that's my opinion. I think it's real, all of it.
All of it's real.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think all of it's real.
Genghis Khan.
Yes.
He was real. I gotcha.
Gotcha. Yeah, the Mongol warriors and the conquerors of the time. They're real.
The lake's real.
Okay, the lake's real.
The lake's real. The Russians are real.
Okay, so this almost started off as like a science episode, like with the mushroom one, and then Zuma told me stop doing real ones, do a ghost story as the theme. And then I was like, oh, fine. And then I learned that this one's got some ghosts and aliens, so kept it.
No new research needed.
Yeah, I think it's more aliens than ghosts.
Yeah, I'll say it. It's aliens.
Yeah, I think,
I like the sea creature, too.
You're right.
I like him.
Yeah, the sea
I
dragon.
can see a picture.
Sea dragon.
I believe in him.
I like a sea dragon.
Sea dragon.
He's cute. He might be an eligible bachelor that I wasn't thinking about until today.
True.
We did a episode about that.
Eligible bachelors?
That are cryptids.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just in general.
We were just talking about people who don't have somebody they're dating and are like kind of cute.
Nice.
Talking about boys.
Little gossip.
I'm talking about boys.
I love boys. I wrote other stuff. I might try to do a connection corner in the future, but that's just for me, because I don't think my guests need to listen to every of the episodes before getting on. That would be a lot of time. But I kind of have been peppering connection corner in a little bit here. But it's crazy that deep lakes tend to have weird stuff going on. In this case, this lake has all this stuff. Lake Tanganyika has the laughter epidemic and the Popobawa from a previous episode. Any other water? Nope.
The laughter epidemic. I'd love to hear more about that.
Oh, I can link you the episode.
Link me's LOL.
The main premise is that in 1961 in now Tanzania, then Tanganyika, Africa, like hundreds of school children just started laughing for no reason, for like in waves for like months at a time, up to a year, and it spread throughout villages and stuff. And it was like coming and going in waves, and nobody knew why it was happening. Very weird. That sort of thing happened in Europe all the time in the 1500s to the 1600s, mostly with dancing. Very weird. That being said, lots of weird stuff happens at deep lakes, and then to name drop Astonishing Legends, the podcast, and then probably some website I didn't look up. But a large majority of UFO sightings take place near water and oftentimes fresh water, although I don't think I got a percentage. And a lot of people also sometimes see UFOs coming to suck up the water. And I do believe some of the reports that I saw on Lake Tanganyika involved that, but I don't... it was like not an actual eyewitness report that was reported by news sources, just like... And then some people have seen UFOs sucking up water from the lake. So who knows what that's about. To a degree, I think our main boys, the Michigan Dogman and the Beast of Bray Road, are also often spotted near water sometimes, lakes and rivers, and also Lake Michigan, shouts. Like a lot of the sightings are around that lake in particular. Kind of to, like, by a degree of like 50 miles or something. I don't know. Water's weird.
Water is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Do y'all have any alien opinions? Any alien stories you believe in?
I found a good quote on the lake, if we'd like to hear it.
Do it up.
Paul Kaju. This is his only review. And it's all in capitals. It's a 5-star review, just for context. A truly arrogant and uncomparable water pot, diabolical in its sheer cold, must view this beast of the wonders.
Can you, like, write that down?
I'll screenshot
for me
it.
For later?
Yes.
Because I kind of want a t-shirt now.
That would be
or like a
truly diabolical
grinder bio.
Ooh.
Yeah, that would get me some penis.
That's what it's all about.
That's what
Grindr,
it's always
baby.
about with this guy. His penis.
I'm gonna suck some alien titties.
You can't.
What?
You're not allowed.
I'm not a client.
We actually made all of that stuff up about being roommates. We just met on
Grindr.
Grindr.
Rebecca's on Grindr. Oh, it's one of those poly Grindr people that are like, my girlfriend and I want some gay.
Do people do that?
Yes.
That seems
I don't know.
like
I
a
don't
waste
have
of
a Grindr.
time. No, I don't.
I'm just making things
can I
up.
download Grindr? I want to know if this exists. I want to know if he's fucking with me. Is it real?
Well, now I don't want to say because I want to see where this goes.
Is that? We gotta stop the pod. Yeah, no.
I feel like we got some. I feel like we got.
You gotta cut that part.
We did it. I think we did the episode.
Yeah, you gotta cut that last part though.
Yeah.
That was good.
This is literally the first episode that I did that deals with aliens more so than ghosty, spirity stuff. So the connections in the connection corner are a bit slim, but I like aliens. Aliens work. I've always had a struggle believing in aliens and ghosts at the same time because I feel like the machinations behind both are just completely different. But just the more I listen to some stories, the more I kind of get into it a little bit, especially if there's examples of trace evidence and stuff. Mm-hmm. This one doesn't have a lot of trace evidence unless you count the ice circles or these pictures. Mm-hmm. But that being said, anytime anything is left behind and you can see it, it's whoa, what? Mm-hmm. This one, I guess the declassified documents, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. I like it. I also like how the government's kind of being maybe, I really don't know. I think that's the one thing I'll, if anyone's going to get conspiracy about it, I'm pretty sure that's the one I'll believe, where the government's seen stuff and they're just as confused as I am.
Yeah.
I'll say it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that thus is the episode of Lake Baikal. We did it. Before I stop recording in 5 seconds, does anybody have anything they want to say?
No, thank you for having us on.
No,
thank you for coming back again. It was great to have you in person. And so your guys are coming across clear. Mm-hmm. It's also great to get your backgrounds and stuff because I want to get all the people that I did in previous episodes to do the 4 questions because sometimes it's I'm yeeting these random people in the show and we can get a background and stuff. So it's always fun. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a shorter episode, but we have a time schedule and we got to get up early. So,
good job, team.
We did it.
We did it.
The milk of human kindness is aplomb.
Well, that just about does it in our episode covering the mysteries of Lake Baikal. And it looks like we're going to have to say Baikal to the lake. But before we do that, I'm going to end this episode with something that Rebecca actually came up with. Review Corner. I'm going to be looking up the online reviews of the place and share them in the outro from here on out. It's just too hilarious a bit, and I'm too much of a callow man to not rip it off. So everyone tell Rebecca she's smart, because she's smart. Caleb Ottman says, too large, too cold, 2, 1 star. Labarici De Stefano writes, biological entities exist there, 5 stars. Henry Mork writes,